is Business Rockstars, where we introduce you to the rock stars of the business world so you can become a rock star too.
If you listen to your fears, you will die never knowing what a great person you might have been. So many people get crippled by the daunting task of starting a business because they're afraid to fail. But if you don't try, you'll never know what great idea or great company you could have come up with. Welcome back to Business Rockstars, where we help you to start, grow, and fund your business. I'm Steve Lehman, guest hosting all week for Ken Rakowski, along with my co-host, a man who's not only a CEO, entrepreneur, but a musician, Pink Floyd sax player, Scott Floyd. Scott Floyd.
Well, kind of.
You know, can I call you Scott Floyd
Yeah,
instead
you
of
can
Scott
call
Page?
me. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Scott Floyd. So, Scott, thanks, buddy, for hanging out.
You know, it's interesting what you said about failing. You know, I think, basically there are people, I think, as far as folks out there in the world out there, should be start looking at some of the lean startup models. And part of it is to fail fast.
Yeah, fail fast.
You want to get out there quickly and fail quickly so you can learn to move yourself in the right direction.
Start it again.
Yeah.
All right, our in-studio guest, Jesse Dillon. He's a broadcast talent, entrepreneur, CEO of Megacast, a company about to go public. Ooh. He's a fierce biker, a triathlete, and a darn good-looking guy. Jesse, welcome to the show.
He's got a great voice, too, doesn't he?
All right, Jesse, you have gone from an award-winning broadcaster to a successful entrepreneur, business executive. Did it hit you one day, I've got to make that transition to become an entrepreneur, I got to do something else, or was this a gradual process?
Steve, I was on the air doing a morning show, coast to coast in Canada, minding my own business. Of course, it's easy doing a morning show in Canada. There's no one to offend. we have more moose than listeners up there. And I'd get off the air at 9 o'clock in the morning. There was no one to play with, so I started competing in triathlons, went to a few world championships with the national Canadian team. Oh. And during the World Championships, June 8th, 1997, in Nice, France, a 155-kilometer long course race, you go deep, you think about things. And I thought, man, there's a real void in broadcasting for lifestyle programming. So I started fooling around with that. We started our first show for The Good Life, which is the parent company of Megacast, December 5th, 1999. And eventually it was a means to an end to allow me to get off the air from being an employee and start building companies. But, reloading midstream, reinventing yourself, and hockey players and celebrities, this town is littered with people who the business no longer wants them. You have to reinvent yourself. It's very tough to do that.
So you and Scott both come from the creative end, right?
Yep.
Does the creativity help in terms of business?
I think the creativity helps in terms of attracting the right people for your business.
Absolutely.
I mean, this dude's been on stage. I mean, I was playing his 8-tracks on mescaline when I was 12. Right? All right, it wasn't just mescaline. No. There's some good stuff. Well, now it's going to be legal. Your next guest is going to, anyway. It was, but you know that from being absolutely. On stage. It's, there's something interesting that's an undercurrent here with this group. Everybody behind a microphone in this session is a freaking great communicator. And I can't tell you how strong communication skills come into play, and liking people. That's a huge attractor factor in building a business.
Yeah, I mean, I find that, obviously for me, it's like I realized right out of the gate, the key is making sure you find people that fill the niche that you don't do, right? So I've always been the great starter. So I always ask people, are you a starter or a finisher?
And having the courage and the balls, quite frankly,
right,
to admit, hey, man, I don't do that well. Let's get that guy or girl to do it. They do that better.
You're listening to Business Rockstars. I'm Steve Lehman, and for Ken Rakowski, our co-host, Mr. Scott Page, and our guest is Jesse Dillon, broadcast entrepreneur, CEO of Megacast. All right, you are about to recast your company from private to public. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal, Jesse, right?
Big deal.
So what's the process? How's this happening?
It's a long process. It's not something that you wake up overnight and say, let's go public. It requires dynamic tension, and I mean tension in a good way, right? Tension holds up buildings, and it's a good thing. It needs dynamic tension in a number of different areas. It's like having 3 or 4 different companies inside one company. You've got a public market team. And hopefully, if you're in a fortuitous position to be able to choose the right financiers, and they're in it for the right reasons, not just to make a quick buck, because they like the opportunity. So my finance guys came in 3 or 4 years ago. We've been really lucky that way. Yeah. And as the company steps up, it's very important to have that dynamic tension with your financial team. The business itself has to measure up. It's not like the dot-com days. It's a little like that right now with tech. But, maybe there'll be an adjustment. But you've got to have a real business. You've got to have revenues. You've got to have growth. You've got to have so many things going for you. And you've got to have the right team. You know,
and it's going to change the dynamic. The other thing I see you've done is you've surrounded yourself with some really interesting board members. Who's on your board?
Scott Carlin, the former president of HBO, Todd Finch, the former president of Netscape, Joe Abrams, the co-founder of MySpace, some very senior finance guys, some very strong broadcast guys. We've been very lucky. In fact, part of the strength of building a morning radio show over many, many years was being able to create a dynamic team. And I'm a good team builder. I recognize the strengths in others. So I've been able to surround myself with really strong people.
Yeah, I mean, going public, the whole deal with that, at least because when we took our company public, it's about building credibility.
Right.
And you want to build the credibility amongst your team. So as entrepreneurs out there in the radio land right now, when you're listening, it's really important to build those people, to build the credibility around your business.
And I have no compunction and no ego in playing up. You know, in tennis or golf, if you want to get better, you play up. If I want to be a good cyclist, I've got to go riding with Steve. By the way, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's his birthday. Happy birthday to you. Yeah,
happy birthday to Steve. So Steve's now in a new age category, old.
Right.
No, it's not true. Really old. But yeah, all right.
So I love this guy.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I'm telling you, I love this guy. I want to clone him. I want to bottle him up and take him to parties. He's killing me. By the way, he's destroyed Ken's show. You hear what he did with little people? Only he very generously called them dwarfs and midgets.
I just read the article. I read the article about what Walt Disney did.
Ken's coming.
All right,
he is an equal opportunity.
We regress. All right, let me. Jesse, this is going to be an exciting adventure for you. Going public is really a game changer in terms of the company, and I know you're going through the funnel. Scott, you've been through a public company. Any words of advice for Jesse?
Don't go Corvette City once you get that money.
Yep.
We talked about that earlier. You got to be really careful.
No
man.
bling.
No bling.
Don't be buying the bling, buddy.
No.
Okay, so don't do what you did.
No, we actually didn't do too much. But we did one little bling, and that was a mistake. We got beat up for that.
Entrepreneur, CEO, Megacast, Jesse Dillon. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
All right, coming back, we are going to have another guest, another rock star, Paul Pelosi Jr. We're going to find out what's happening in the world of eco. So stick around. I'm Steve Lehman in for Ken Rukowski. This is Business Rockstars.